Hey everybody, it's Allie and welcome to our Y&R Chat for Sunday, February 11th, 2018. Shouldn't we all know by now that all roads lead back to Victor Newman? Always, always, always. Victor is behind everything. As the walls are closing in on Chelsea this week, she has this little private moment to herself and comments that everything she's doing, the Chelsea 2.0 scam, the stashed cash in the walls and in the vault of where Adam's urn should be, everything she's doing is for Connor and Christian. She implies that she is squirreling away money in case Victor decides to tell everyone the truth about Christian's paternity, that she knew all about it, that she's been keeping this huge secret from the world and from Nick and from Christian. This is something that would blow up her world, so she wants to have a stash of cash. She wants to have an emergency plan. She wants to try to do an end run around Victor. My problem with all of this is I don't and have never understood why Victor would want to do this. It makes no sense. Even if Victor believes that his son Nick is weak-willed, like he told Noah this week, then even if that's the case, surely he recognizes that telling the world that Nick is not Christian's real father only makes him look bad. It makes him look like the villain in the long run. So if he were to expose this secret, he's exposing himself. He would suffer right along with Chelsea. So this thread of Victor's has never made sense to me, yet Chelsea believes that Victor is a threat. She believes that Victor has the ammunition to do harm to her family. So she's been trying to do this scam to cover her tracks, but the truth is catching up to her. JT traces that fake ID, Alexandra West, to a dead woman. Apparently, he finds Alexandra West's social security number, and she's someone who died years and years ago. JT reports this information back to Phyllis and to Lauren, who pulled Chelsea in, of course. This is an ongoing investigation about fraud that's happened with Chelsea's brand, and while Lauren and Phyllis are gung-ho to find the thief, find out who's behind this, Chelsea's over on the side arguing that, maybe we should just let this go. Let's just cut our losses, not draw any attention to ourselves. We don't want the world to know that we've been scammed. It's just going to invite more people to scam us. So it's raising a little bit of an eyebrow for Lauren and Phyllis that Chelsea is arguing so hard to not go after someone who is stealing from her. The thing is, though, Chelsea's making this argument to Phyllis and Lauren and then turning around and going home to Nick, who knows that this fraud has happened, and she's telling Nick that Lauren and Phyllis are trying to convince her not to go after the thief. So she's flipping the script here and telling Nick exactly the opposite of the truth. She's saying she wants to prosecute, but she's been convinced by Lauren and Phyllis that she shouldn't. The thing that Chelsea didn't count on, though, and I think this is quite juicy and wonderful, is that Sharon has become the eyes and ears of Genoa City. Isn't it kind of fantastic the way Sharon's always kind of pouring a coffee in the background, scrubbing up a table, and all the while she's got her ears open. She knows about the fraud that happened at Chelsea 2.0 because she overheard Phyllis talking, I think, to JT about it. She knows about the money that Nick found in Chelsea's walls. Nick told her all about it. So Sharon has all of these little puzzle pieces that just need to come together to form the full picture. Sharon mentions all of the cash in the walls to Phyllis, and that it allows Phyllis to really do the push this week toward exposing Chelsea. I mean, literally, Phyllis is trying to connect the dots on who the fraudster is, and is it Chelsea? Literally, Phyllis has got like this evidence board set up in her living room. How outrageous is that? I mean, that is really taking it to the nth degree. She really should be an amateur detective or something. The way she had like the arrows and the strings, I mean, and all the photos, even like this photo of a Fenmore's truck. I mean, it was kind of ridiculous, but it was a great visual, and it really shows how committed Phyllis is to exposing Chelsea. She has this suspicion, and now she's like a dog without a bone. She doesn't like, or a dog with a bone, sorry. She doesn't like the idea of somebody stealing from Fenmore's, and furthermore, if it's an inside job, she wants to bust it up. If there's any kind of implication that Chelsea's involved in this, Phyllis also has this friendship with Nicholas, so she takes it very personally and professionally at the same time. Phyllis comes up with this idea to test Chelsea, to test whether or not her little suspicions are true. And she goes to Chelsea suggesting that they give everyone on the Chelsea 2.0 staff a lie detector test to find out who is funneling away this merchandise from the company. And, you know, I mean, it makes sense that we should start this lie detector process with the owner, with you, with Chelsea. So basically, Phyllis is asking Chelsea if she'll take a lie detector test, and Chelsea doesn't exactly take kindly to that idea. She tries to say, well, I don't want my staff to think I don't trust them, yada yada, but I mean, she also realizes that that Phyllis is kind of passively aggressively accusing her of being the thief. I mean, Chelsea has guilt in the back of her mind. I think someone mentioned this week about how, like, when you're sort of a rusty con, you know, maybe you're not as good as you used to be, maybe the little guilt creeps in. Chelsea is pulling a con, but her stakes are quite a lot different these days than they were when she didn't have children, when she didn't have a relationship. So I think Chelsea's insistence that she doesn't have anything to do with it, that her staff doesn't have anything to do with it, is only causing more suspicion. And Phyllis just is not going to let it go. She literally stops by the condo 2 times in one night to pressure Chelsea into doing this lie detector test, or at least to press the issue, and it starts to get a little aggressive. Nick ends up walking in on it. Now, keeping in mind, Nick has no idea that, you know, the real kind of story behind the scenes at Fenmore's. Chelsea's been telling him that Phyllis wants to drop it, and now here Phyllis is in his living room telling him everything, that she knows all about the money and that she thinks Chelsea is evading. So Nick is now like stunned to realize that the storyline he's been given is not quite what the reality is, and it leaves enough of a seed of doubt, I think, to start creeping into Nick's mind and to start causing him to question Chelsea a little bit. I mean, he wants to trust her, of course. This is his girlfriend. This is, I mean, he's sharing children with this woman. He doesn't want to think the worst of her, of course. He's trying to give Chelsea the benefit of the doubt, but as Phyllis turns around and walks away, the smiles she gave when she got in the elevator and, you know, rode it on down out of Chelsea's condo, it just said, gotcha. Like, Phyllis knows Nick, and she knows that he is not just gonna let this go. At Victoria and JT's house, JT decides to throw an impromptu dinner party. I thought that was such a nice idea. I vote more dinner parties. I just like the idea of, I don't know, couples hanging out, or just different characters from different parts of the show coming together and just hanging out, having some wine, having some food. I thought it was a great idea of JT's, but he didn't bother to disclose the guest list to the other guests. So he ended up inviting Nick and Chelsea and Billy and Phyllis separately. They show up at the party not knowing that the other one's gonna be there, and this confrontation between the two women has just happened. Of course, JT didn't, I suppose, supposedly know about Phyllis's accusations, and so it just creates this really awkward situation that it's kind of hard to keep together. Both of the women are trying to make nice and not make a scene, but it's clear that they want to rip each other's throats out. They start going back and forth at first, passive aggressively, which seems to be the tone that it starts out on, but then it really gets pretty ugly. It progresses into the two women just throwing slings and arrows back and forth. I felt bad for Victoria. Honestly, she's just standing there in her sexy black dress, having people over to her house, trying to be an entertainer, a happy host, trying, in fact, to just be happy with JT on the eve of their wedding divorce anniversary, no, her divorced wedding anniversary. I mean, and all the while, furs flying in front of her between Chelsea and Phyllis, just right in her living room. I felt bad for her. But it created very nice drama for us. When Chelsea gets home, here's the weird twist that I can't quite put my finger on. Chelsea gets a mysterious text. And it says something to the effect of, you won't get away with it. Well, of course, I'm kind of thinking at first, is this Phyllis? Is Phyllis the one sending these texts? But then the threatening text messages keep coming. They say, it'll all be over soon. And after Chelsea goes to visit Adam, there's one that says, did you have fun visiting with Christian's real father? And I don't think that would be Phyllis. Phyllis has pretty much put her suspicions on Front Street. I don't think Phyllis would need to send mysterious text messages to get her point across. So I am left wondering where these mysterious text messages are coming from. And if someone is texting her, hey, did you have fun visiting Christian's real father? Then whoever it is already knows the secret. There's a moment where Chelsea is at Adam's urn vault memorial thingy, and she cracks open the vault with a screwdriver, only to discover that the money she put there last week has now vanished. It's completely gone. So somebody is onto her. In the next moment, she turns around and Sharon is standing there kind of creeping up on her. I mean, I don't know if it was intentional or not, but Chelsea is startled. She turns around and Sharon's standing there in the dark. I don't know. Sharon says that she was just there visiting Cassie's grave, and since all of this talk of Adam has come up lately, she thought she'd just drop in to see Adam. But I tell you what, Sharon has been giving me detective work, detective vibe this week. There's just something subtle about what's going on with Sharon that makes me wonder if she could be the one behind those text messages. I don't know how on earth Sharon would have found out Chelsea's paternity secret, but it just, I don't know. It's just a theory. And you know what though, the thing is, Sharon would have a little bit of a vested interest maybe in busting up Chelsea and Nick, because first of all, Sharon and Nick have a long romantic history. It may be that she desires him still. It may just be that she doesn't want a friend to be being duped by a significant other the way she has just recently been duped. But also, let's remember, Sharon thought that Christian was her son. So in a way, Sharon would have a little bit of a motive to just want to pluck Chelsea out of that picture and put herself right down into it. She does keep talking to Nick, and while she is subtly sort of telling Nick to give Chelsea the benefit of the doubt, she's also feeding him information that is feeding into the doubt. She tells Nick, whether good intentioned or not, that she saw Chelsea at the cemetery that night, and unfortunately for Chelsea, she had told Nick that she was at work. So that's strike two. Something's not adding up in Nick's mind with Chelsea, and he just is not going to be able to let it go. he takes his suspicions to Phyllis, and Phyllis is perfectly happy to fill in the rest of the blanks. She tells him, among other things, about the threatening text messages that Chelsea has been getting that Nick knows nothing about. So I'm sure that Nick is going to want to take this information to Chelsea sooner or later, kind of at least with some proof that she's been hiding some things, and at least try to talk to her about it. But again, Chelsea says she's at work. She's not at work. We see her show up at Victor's office. Now, the tone that she's taking with Victor is, uh-oh, Victor, we've got a problem. Somebody knows about this paternity secret. I've been getting these texts. But she tells him that, but she doesn't tell him anything about the Chelsea 2.0 scam or the money. Of course, she doesn't want to disclose that she's been trying to do this end run around him, but the twist is, of course, all roads lead back to Victor Newman. He already knows about the money that she's been stashing away, and he dumps it out on his desk right in front of her in very dramatic fashion. See, the thing is, I think to myself, how did Victor know that Chelsea put the money in that vault? So either he is tailing her, has a private eye or something watching her, or Sharon was there. Sharon was at the cemetery. Is there any chance that Sharon told Victor, or that Sharon's working with Victor? I don't know. Maybe it's a little bit of a long shot, but it is something that occurred to me. I got to make sense of something somehow here, because since Victor and Chelsea are both trying to keep this paternity secret, I'm, left wondering where Victor's head is. I'm sure that he's not happy that Chelsea is keeping this secret from Nick and to him. It's Victor detecting that Chelsea is doing some lying here, but at the same time, it's like, okay, which is it, Victor? Are you trying to work with Chelsea to keep the paternity secret, or are you blackmailing her and threatening to expose the secret? I can't keep it straight. And furthermore, I guess the other leap is, if Victor knew that Chelsea was hiding the money and is maybe having her followed, does that necessarily mean that he was the one behind the mysterious text messages that are coming from an anonymous phone number, 555-5555? The most classic, movie, TV, random phone number, the old 5555555. And somehow, to me, that just doesn't seem like Victor's style at all. I cannot see Victor going out of his way to send these threatening messages to Chelsea. I don't know. I could be wrong. He could be working with someone to send those messages, or so it's either Victor's behind it, or there's some totally random unforeseen threat person out there who has found out the secret and is texting to Chelsea. Of course I mentioned Sharon, and I think that's a decent theory considering she's floating around in the background. But here's another one, and this is probably more far-fetched, but what about JT? I know I'm being super suspicious of him, but could he have learned more about Alexandra West than he's letting on? Could he be knowing more and choosing to not tell Phyllis and Lauren and maybe use it as a way to blackmail Chelsea in the future? He did call that dinner party, right, that he said he didn't know was going to end up being so awkward, but if he was, for instance, behind it, it would have been kind of a genius move, because Phyllis came out of that whole dinner party looking like the bad guy and not him, and he would have gotten to get a sense of a lay of the land of the, is Chelsea acting suspicious or whatever. I don't know, maybe that is the longer shot, but I also think I read, I could be totally wrong, but I think I read in Soaps in Depth that Greg Ricart is going to be coming back for a couple of episodes. So could Kevin be working some sort of plot here? For what reason? I don't know. part of Phyllis's plan to bust Chelsea was to work in cahoots with her new friend Hilary, which I love these two working together, on a secret mission. Phyllis is wanting to lure Jordan Wilde back to Genoa City under the guise of having a photography gig for him to work for Fenmore's, but in reality they want to get Jordan to spill his guts about Chelsea, just tell all of the dirt that he knows about Chelsea. So Jordan shows back up in town. I'm not too excited about that, honestly. I'm kind of over Jordan after the whole naked photo thing, so I wasn't too excited to see him back, but I thought it was kind of great that Hilary forces Jordan's hand a little bit into revealing some information, threatening to turn him into the cops under a Wisconsin revenge porn law. Is that a thing? Like, is there a, I mean, it should be. It really should be. Is there a thing though, like where if you, in Wisconsin, if you post porn for somebody, or, you know, of somebody's to get back at them, that they could go to jail, that you could go to jail for that? I think that's a really good law. I hope that is on the books. But it does force Jordan to admit that Chelsea could be involved in this scam. The whole social security number thing, the website thing, all of that could potentially be in her wheelhouse. So he does kind of confirm at least that Chelsea could be involved in the scam. He's not totally against Chelsea though, because he does turn around as soon as possible and tell Chelsea that Phyllis is on to her. But before he leaves town, presumably, the more interesting part of this, I think, is that Jordan plants this healthy little seed in Hilary's mind about her sperm donor. Like, she can't wait to tell anybody and everybody who will listen that she is going this in vitro route for having a baby, and she makes the mistake of saying it to someone who's pretty much an enemy and who she has pretty much just threatened. She tries to open up to Jordan, I guess, to brag a little bit about the fact that she is trying to have a baby and that she's trying to get pregnant, and in fact she could be pregnant this very second. Well, Jordan shakes her faith by saying, yeah, you know, actually, I used to donate sperm to these sperm banks and these companies who do this in vitro, and hate to break it to you, babe, but they lie about who the fathers are. I mean, my profile up on this site said I was all this and all that, and they completely lied about the who the father would be. So let's face it, you don't really know whose swimmers you're getting. It doesn't matter how much research you've done on this company, you don't really know. So that tells me one of two things. If Hilary is pregnant, then I think the father's going to end up being someone we know. She's going to think she's going to get this certain type of man, and it's going to end up being someone else in Genoa City. Or if she's not pregnant, I think that she will end up pulling the plug on the in vitro plan, because she's second guessing herself. Phyllis has tried to reassure her that she is making a good decision. It's all going to work out just fine. But that seed of doubt, I think, is going to continue to grow every single day. I loved the line where she said, I mean, what if my baby's father was like a psychopath or something? And of course, I'm thinking, or what if it's Victor Newman? Even worse than a psychopath. What if your baby's father turns out to be Victor? I mean, ask Ashley. He's got some sperm stashed somewhere. That's how Abby was conceived. So I thought that was pretty interesting. On Friday, she and Devon are pulling an all-nighter or a late-nighter at Devon's office, and Devon tells her that he really admires what she's doing, the fact that she is going through with trying to become a mother on her own. And Devon confides that he is also thinking about his own legacy, and he's talking about all the things that he wants to accomplish in his career, and that he wants to be the very best that he can be. He doesn't want to be known as just the guy who inherited a bunch of money from his rich grandmother, and that he wants to make a place for himself in the world. And it seemed like they were really bonding over that. Like, I think Hilary and Devon are both in a place where they are trying to reinvent themselves and trying to see their future and trying to make something good of it. And they were really connecting until Devon's sexy new songbird walked into his office. So we have our Shanika Knowles coming onto the screen, and she was very, very beautiful. And Devon is very interested in bringing her onto his label. Do you guys remember, this is such a side note, but do you remember this lady's not the first musician or the last, I'm sure, that Devon has tried to cultivate here, even before Tessa. Do you guys remember when Devon was working with, I think her name was Angela, and she had this father named, I think his name was like Angelo, and he had this little dog, and Angela was obsessed with Kevin, and it just became this crazy, wacky, mobby storyline. I don't know. I just, the fact that Devon always brings in these people to work with for music, kind of, I don't know, it just reminded me of that a little bit. But he is trying to get this girl to sign with his label, and although Hilary kept a smiling face as she walked in, all sexy and beautiful and talented, I'm sure that Hilary is at least a little concerned that Devon is going to be luring her into bed. I mean, it had to be on her mind. I think Hilary thought that maybe this woman was coming in as a date for Devon. So there's a little bit of something that is little by little inching toward maybe some sparks actually igniting between Hilary and Devon. I mean, who knows? Maybe Hilary can beat this girl to the punch. Hilary and Devon do tend to run into each other quite often now at night, alone in Devon's office. It only takes one night of desk sex to make a baby. Wow, Mariah lobbies surprisingly hard to Nick to let Tessa stay in one of his low-income housing units, which is now known as Rainbow Gardens. It sounds fantastic. Rainbow Gardens. I was a little bit more on Sharon's side of that argument. Sharon said, how about we just let Tessa be a big girl and deal with her own housing issues? Why do we need to get involved in this when it's clearly going to make Noah uncomfortable? I mean, Nick should have thought of that. I think Nick wants to be merciful. He sees someone who's struggling. Mariah did make a very compelling argument about, you know, who here hasn't had second chances, third chances, sixth chances. So I could see why Nick wanted to just have an open heart, but I am surprised that Noah wasn't his priority. I think he should have at least talked to Noah and asked him if he would be okay with this. And of course the answer would be no. Noah is livid with Nick for handing Tessa a get out of jail free card. He says, why are the Newmans always bailing her out? Why? And it's a pretty good question, but I am of course very worried about Noah, as I'm sure we all are. Devon tries to schedule a team building meeting between he and Hilary and Mariah and Tessa at the top of the tower. He attempts to pick a night where Noah is not working, but surprise, Noah's there anyway, and he's having a few drinks, and he sees these four sitting at the table, and he assumes they're there on a double date. Frankly, I really do think that Devon is creating excuses to have date meetings with Hilary. I mean, why does he need her opinion on the music business? He doesn't. And why does he need his low-level assistant there? I mean, he's deemed Tessa not even worthy of having an office of her own. She's sitting there doing filing on his couch, and her opinion suddenly matters so much about the business. I mean, Devon made it sound like this was the most low-level, like, eat dirt, like one level up from scrubbing the toilets at Hamilton Winters, and now all of a sudden her opinion is oh so important that he needs to have these meetings? I don't know. Noah sees the whole thing, and of course he feels very upset. He's letting his feelings of betrayal, they're all just beneath the surface, and then you add alcohol to that mix, and of course it's gonna bubble over. He first lashes out at Tessa, and then he lashes out at Devon, even implying that maybe Devon is giving Tessa this second chance because maybe he wants her. Ooh, it got to be a really loud scene. Noah tries to punch Devon, and he's so drunk he misses, and he ends up like falling on the floor, and he just looks so sloppy drunk. It was really, really sad to see Noah that way. I mean, why are we focusing so hard on Tessa's redemption? I think Noah needs some love here. The writers need to focus on Noah a little bit. The next day, Devon kind of tattles on Noah to Victor. I thought that was a little bit rude. Be a man. Okay, you guys had an altercation, but I would not personally have run to Noah's grandfather and told him. I mean, Devon, of course, is presenting it as, I'm in charge of PR for Newman, and this was an employee getting drunk and making a scene, and I was able to keep it under wraps, but you never know when next time we might not be so lucky. Hey, by the way, this is just such a total side note, but I am happy that Y&R has been mentioning Neil a little bit more. I mean, we know Christophe St. John had some mental problems that he needed to deal with, and he's taken a little bit of time to himself, which is excellent, excellent, excellent. And it seems like Y&R just kind of didn't mention where Neil was. And then over the course of the past week, I've noticed a couple of times that people have made reference to Neil allowing Devon to keep running the business on his own. I think technically is Neil with Sophia and Moses. I'm not sure. I can't remember exactly, but they did at least reference him, and so I want to make sure to mention that we love you, Neil, and we do miss you, and we're hoping that Christophe St. John is on the mend and feeling better, and I would love to see him back on my screen as soon as possible. But for now, Devon is definitely taking the lead on the business. He goes to Victor with this information. I really thought he was going to talk to Victor about the feud that's going on between Ashley and Victoria, but no, he was telling Victor everything that happened at top of the tower with Noah, and Victor calls Noah in, has a talk with him, tells him to get it under control. Don't be weak like your father. Don't be like your father. Be strong like your Aunt Victoria. Is Noah buying this? I mean, Noah, don't be so blinded by heartbreak, please, that you wind up in Victor's clutches again. Poll question. Ashley versus Victoria. Who are you rooting for? YRChat.com. I want to know where you guys are falling on this debate, because I find myself leaning toward supporting Victoria in all of this. I mean, Ashley came onto her turf and started a war unprovoked. I don't know. It all seems kind of unnecessary to me. It's just things got so hostile so quick, and I feel like Ashley was the one who started it. One aha moment that I did have this week was realizing that, oh, Ashley is not exactly after Victoria's job. Victoria is kind of just a casualty of war in a way, someone to just get out of the way. Ashley's after Victor's job when he kicks the bucket, or I don't know, maybe she's hoping to just somehow pull an end run to vote Victor out of the CEO position via the board. I like, backing up a minute, I need to understand why on earth Victor ever gave Ashley a board seat in the first place. Why would Victor ever give an Abbott a seat on the board of Newman Enterprises? That makes absolutely no sense to me. I mean, even though Ashley and Jack are at odds, Jack is his #1 biggest all-time rival. Why would he even allow the tiniest little crack of an opening? And is it possible that we are going to see a Jabot takeover of Newman? I mean, we've seen Newman take over Jabot how many times? You never know. It could be a reverse storyline. Who knows? Oh, well, last week, we saw Ashley building up her army against Victoria. This week, we're seeing Victoria building up her army against Ashley, and specifically, she has hired JT to become the new head of Newman Security. It's kind of his old job. It's something that he is qualified to do, and it doesn't hurt that it puts an ally in her back pocket under the same work roof. I tell you, I don't know why JT would even want that position, working with Victoria and her father again, like being all up in that whole family drama. Victor he's the worst. He's the worst father ever. He tells Nikki this week that he doesn't really even mind the fact that Ashley and Victoria are feuding because Victoria works a little better with someone nipping at her heels. This is just classic Victor Newman. It's the reason that his kids never stay at his company or in his life for very long. He's probably keeping Ashley there as a backup plan for when Victoria decides that she's had enough of Victor's crap and ends up walking out of the company. Devon actually did question Ashley this week. This is why I thought he was going to go to Victor about this, but he questions Ashley, like, why are you coming so hard for Victoria? Why are you not trying to cultivate at least kind of a team atmosphere? Why are you coming out so hard right out of the gate? There was a photo shoot that Devon was in charge of this week to announce Ashley working at Newman Enterprises, and it's going to be an interview and a video and a photo shoot for his press release. And so they got like a ton of different photos of Ashley sitting behind Victoria's desk, spinning around in Victoria's chair, talking on Victoria's phone, and Victoria, of course, walks in, sees all of this. I think she wanted to explode, but smartly, Victoria decided to seize away Ashley's spotlight and shine it on JT instead. So we've got more than one new hire at this company, Ashley. I just hired JT, head of Newman Security, and I mean, it created, of course, like, so much awkwardness, which was great for viewing, but I did feel a little bad for JT being in the middle. He was trying to navigate this because he didn't see it coming. I'm sure this was just a off-the-cuff thing by Victoria, and he gets thrust into the middle of it. I am so back and forth on JT because sometimes I feel bad for him, and then sometimes I'm so angry with the way he acts and just turned off. Like, I was really turned off this week by the way he acted toward Kane. Okay, JT strolls in to a meeting that he was supposed to be at 20 minutes late just to tell Kane that he's quitting. Oh yeah, I know I have a contract and everything, but I'm quitting. And rightfully so, Kane is reprimanding him. I mean, JT is always late. He's always high maintenance. He broke his contract with Chancellor by doing that job for Fenmore's, and Kane did give him a little bit of a slap on the wrist, but how merciful is Kane supposed to be toward him? Like, Kane did give JT this job as a way to help out a guy who had no place to stay, had no job, which means he has no money. I mean, Kane was trying to help the guy out, and then JT even takes a jab back at Kane about how he got his job at Chancellor. Like, well, Jill just handed you your job. I mean, I liked these guys as friends, and I don't know why it had to go so wrong. I don't even understand where it went so wrong. Like, where did the break in the friendship happen? It makes me annoyed and suspicious of JT. I don't think it's a good sign for what his performance is going to be like at Newman Enterprises. Plus, he's going to be so busy, whether he wants to admit it or not, he's going to be so busy running interference between Victoria and Ashley. I wouldn't even be surprised if there was some big security breach at Newman. I mean, maybe that's how Jabot could get in. I mean, I don't know. I'm just theorizing here, but it's just something about JT doesn't add up. And I'll tell you what, after watching that altercation between JT and Kane, I wouldn't put it past JT if he made some moves on Lily. I mean, we saw him, trying to make his little moves on Abby, and he's not married, whatever, but just there was something about JT and Lily having that little aside where they were commiserating a little bit about the fact that they're not working in the same place, standing in the middle of the same crossfire of passive-aggressive employee surveys. I mean, like, I don't know. Both JT and Lily are in the middle. I could kind of see them coming in the middle together. I don't know. Maybe that's just a little breadcrumb, I want to say, that Y&R might be throwing out of there. The one thing that really impressed me with JT this week, though, I'll give him a little bit of credit. I liked when Victoria tried to suggest that maybe he should bug Ashley's office since he's Mr. Security Man now. Maybe he should bug Ashley's office to try to get information on her. And he did push back on Victoria. I like that he pushes back on Victoria. He said, no, I'm not going to spy on Ashley. I like my job. I take it seriously. I want to do it well. And I'm not just going to be a lackey for you. You appointed me in this position for a reason. And I thought that was a really good moment to kind of stand on his own 2 feet, be his own person when Victoria does have a tendency to run people over. I just wish that I could shake the feeling that JT is up to something. He's on the surface, he's being such a great guy, right? He is saying all the right things, doing all the right things. He's really going the extra mile to bring up the fact that their wedding anniversary is coming up. It's a wedding anniversary from a marriage that has been divorced for years, and he's really getting into Valentine's Day. He's been giving Victoria these beautiful, lavish presents. He bought her a dress. He bought her a diamond infinity necklace. Where is he getting this money? He didn't have a job a month ago. Kane had to give him a job. Maybe he got a signing bonus or whatever, but where is the money for the diamonds and the dresses coming from is my question, friends. I wish I could trust him. I don't know if you guys are feeling that way too. It sometimes comes off like he's just doing all this to try to distract her, which could be a good thing if his intentions are good, or it could be a bad thing if his intentions are bad. I thought it was weird that he rescheduled that important business meeting of Victoria's with an overseas client. It wasn't appropriate. She had a Valentine's night evening appointment scheduled with an important client, and he called the client's assistant to have it reworked so that they could spend Valentine's together. Okay, so that's either really sweet and thoughtful and maybe something that Victoria needs, or it's a little bit shady, and I just can't put my finger on which it is. I just also keep thinking about the poll question that we did like maybe 3 weeks ago about Victoria and JT moving too fast. It sometimes just feels like he's pressuring to move too fast. He even mentioned the idea of getting remarried again. Like, whoa, okay, whoa, that's too fast. Even Victoria was clearly uncomfortable by that. She's not really ready to get married again. I mean, no offense, JT. I just love where we are. I mean, but it's just too fast. And as a viewer, like, it kind of bothers me that I can't put my finger on him. We had these implications weeks ago about him doing the pill popping, and it drives me nuts that we haven't had any follow-up on that whatsoever. I mean, it's either a drug addiction, he was taking the pills with wine, not good, or it is some kind of underlying medical condition, but I want to know, Y&R, something more. So, show me another pill pop. Show me something that gives me something to chew on as far as that. Don't just like have him popping 2 pills, go to the doctor, and then say nothing about it for 2 weeks. I want to know. And more, I think that maybe his behavior doesn't quite gel with someone who has a drug habit. More and more, it almost seems like he's a man who is trying to seize the day, not knowing if it's his last. Ring, ring, it's a video call from Paris. It's Dina. Well, we've been hearing all about how Dina's been doing so well. This is bound to be a wonderful surprise, right? Wrong. When Dina calls via a video chat to talk to Jack and Ashley, she again fails to recognize Tracy. Tracy is like the help, and Dina treats Tracy as the help, which means she treats her a little bit rough. There is no love there. She treats Tracy like she should be doing a job and getting out of the way of her talking to her beloved children. And even when Dina is pressed on that issue, told that Tracy is her daughter, Dina comes back saying, no, I only have one daughter. Get out of the way. I mean, it was just too much. It was just too much for Tracy. I mean, all the while we've been focusing so much on the relationship between Jack and Dina and Ashley and Dina, and Tracy's just been pushed off to the side, and in a lot of ways, that's got to be one of the more heartbreaking facets of this disease. It's one thing when when you know, Dina doesn't recognize that Jack is, or she thinks that Jack is John, but it's got to be a whole nother level of pain to not be recognized by your own mother. And Tracy has had it. I loved that we finally focused on the other Abbott sibling here, and in some ways she's like the strongest Abbott sibling here. She has been trying so hard to keep it all together. I mean, she's watching her family implode from all angles. I mean, all around her. Her father is dead. Her daughter is dead. I mean, no one should have to go through what she went through with her child. I mean, you expect to bury a parent. You don't expect to bury your baby. And I have to connect in with how incredibly hard that must be to always sit in the back of her mind. Her mother doesn't know her from a stranger, and now her brother and her sister, the only family that she really has, are starting World War III over a business dispute. It doesn't make sense, and I really felt for Ashley this week, or for Tracy this week. She broke down. She did have a conversation with Ashley and let a little bit of the air out and said, just fix it then. I mean, you and Jack have the power to fix this family. Just fix it. If you want to help me fix your relationship. And of course, Ashley says, I just can't. It's just not that easy. Separately, Billy has a really good conversation with Jack. I enjoyed that quite a bit because Billy does not mince words. He just told Jack, you're being a jackass. If you really want to correct this situation with our family, then you need to start with Ashley, and you need to start by removing the whole blood Abbott clause from the Jabot bylaws. And I tell you what, I was really glad that Jack just looked at Billy and said, you know what, I hate when you're right. Because Billy was right. That's the right thing to do. And I think it took a lot for Jack to do that. I was really impressed with Jack's mea culpa presentation. He sets up this display on the mantle that includes Ashley's her school certificate or her diploma, whatever you call it, and pictures from the family, and even a few of her old perfume bottles, like old perfume things that she's come up with and created in the lab for Jabot, and her Innovator of the Year award. And it was a beautiful display, and Ashley walked in and she was visibly touched by it all. Jack comes in kind of from the kitchen, and he sees her standing there looking at this gesture, and he actually does talk to her, and he acknowledges Ashley's contribution to the company in words. He says to her how much she deserves to be there, how much she is needed there, how much of a place that she deserves to have at Jabot, and he does offer to welcome her back with open arms to Jabot, give her anything she desires as far as funding and office space and whatever, and says that he is committed to removing the blood Abbott clause from the bylaws. I just think it's easy to be wrong. It's easy to do something wrong, and it's so much harder to admit that you've done something wrong and to actually go and make it right. So that's what Jack did. I was proud of him for that, but it was too little too late. This plea kind of falls on deaf ears. Ashley tells him, I appreciate this gesture, and it may be that in the future I will be able to forgive you, but for now, I'm not going to come back and work at Jabot. I don't trust you, and I cannot work with you if I don't trust you. Unfortunately, the damage is done. Unless, now hear me out here, what if we get Ashley to run into a burning, collapsing building, and then we send Jack in to rescue her? I am a sneaky lady. Money always irons out the rough spots. That was our quote for last week. I asked you guys who you thought said it, knowing that most of you would think that it was Chelsea. It was a little bit of a trick question. I heard the phrase, money always irons out the rough spots, filter through Hilary's lips as she was talking to Mariah about selling GC Buzz, and I thought, ooh, that's my quote. Everybody's gonna think Chelsea said it. And I did trick most of you. See, sometimes I can be a little bit crafty, but there were 5 of you who did not fall for my trick. So I have to give congratulations to Lynn, Henry, Colleen, Jamie, and Isabel. Congratulations. I was a little bit proud of myself on that one. Here's another for you. I wouldn't say no to a spanking. I wouldn't say no to a spanking. Who said it? If you think you know, go to yrchat.com to leave your guess, and if you get it right, I will give you your shout out on next week's chat. Last week's poll question was, how do you feel about Melissa Claire Egan, Chelsea leaving Y&R? I gave you 3 options to vote from. I'm okay with it, I'm disappointed, or no. The majority of you, 56%, just middle of the road. I'm disappointed to see her leave the show, which with a pretty even split on the other 2. 21% I'm okay with it, and 24% no. I voted in the disappointed camp too. I mean, it is disappointing to see a character that you've come to know and gotten to know, and to see them leave. It seems like we talked a little bit last week about what her real intentions are here, like why is she leaving the show, and I got a lot of comments about that, and it seems like the consensus is that Melissa just wanted to work on other projects, possibly primetime projects, and I'll tell you what, I think maybe Melissa wants a little piece of that This Is Us money and fame. I mean, you gotta admit, she worked with Justin Hartley. He left the show to go to a wildly successful primetime series. And I mean, maybe she wants a piece of that for herself. It's got to be a little bit hard to watch someone who you worked with as a peer go on to this wild fame and to not want a little piece of that for yourself. I'm sure it's tempting. So I don't blame her for wanting to try to get some other gigs. I just think if I was a soap star, I don't even think I would ever want anything else. I think being a soap star would be like the top of my dream. I mean, you know, it's like there's some actors that we get on the show who you know are gonna go on. They just, you can tell it's their little stopping ground on the road to a different career. But for me, I think I would just be content to be a soap star forever. Hey, by the way, also following up on last week, a comment from Ellen. She had mentioned that she really felt like she remembered the scene of Adam putting money into that wall. And I had a lot of other people say that they kind of remembered that too. I wish that we could get like a flashback or something of that. Yeah, because I think Adam did kind of stash some money somewhere. Oh, let's get to more comments about Chelsea. A lot of people had some things to say. Actually about Melissa Claire Egan, T. Nicole at yrchat.com says, I would have been devastated if Melissa Claire Egan was leaving the show during the period of time when Chelsea was with Adam. They were my favorite couple and I loved them together, and I'm still disappointed and really do love Chelsea as a character, but without Adam, she's mellowed for me. I do like the idea that there is hope she will return to the show in the future. She will be missed. It does kind of seem like most people loved Chelsea with Adam or were drawn into their romance, and then after he left the show, her character did maybe fizzle a little bit. So I think that's interesting that that's how people want their Chelsea, and maybe that's how Melissa wanted her Chelsea. Beatrice at yrchat.com says, forget recasting. That would be so unfair. They had to use a new Adam and Phyllis and Billy. Please don't do a new Chelsea. Yeah, I was wondering about that too. I don't think they will. I could more see Melissa coming back to do a little stint here and there. Or, you know, if they were going to recast, there's no way they could just do it immediately. We'd have to put some years on that. I mean, and maybe we would be more open to a recast later on down the road. It's kind of part of the game in a way, because we have actors who want to come on to the show, be here for a while, and then move on to other projects. So that's why we end up with all these recasts. Sophia at yrchat.com says, just wondering, has anyone noticed Melissa Claire Egan is not wearing tight-fitting clothes around her belly area? Could it be that she's pregnant? Mind you, she still looks awesome and by no means has a big stomach, but her wardrobe isn't as body slimming as usual. You know, I didn't exactly connect any dots about Melissa being pregnant, Sophia, but I did notice that hideous plaid dress that she was wearing. I think it was at the beginning of this week. It was ill-fitting. It was just hanging off of her. It was absolutely terrible. When she was going through her early in the week combat with Phyllis, I just kept looking at her like, why is that not fixed? You're a fashion designer. It was loose and just hanging off of her weird. Yeah, I don't know. Who knows? Who knows? Anna left me a voicemail. We're all kind of speculating about how Chelsea's going to go off the show now, of course, naturally. And Anna says, what if Y&R brings Adam back to life, but without seeing him on the screen? Now that's exactly what I'm thinking, Anna, and I've been wondering about this too, because if they do bring Adam back as part of Chelsea's exit, it would almost have to be off screen, because otherwise how would the viewers even know that this is supposed to be Adam? I mean, are they going to do the role of Adam Newman is now being played by? I don't see that happening. Although JoJo on YouTube says rumor has it that Justin Hartley may return for Melissa Claire Egan's departure during the February sweeps. The money may be for Adam in order to supply him with some new IDs for the two of them, as he could be whisking her away along with one or both of the kids. Well, I tell you what, I don't see that happening. Only because isn't Justin Hartley under contract with NBC? I don't think, are they really gonna let him out of his NBC contract to go do a couple episodes on a CBS show? I just don't necessarily see it happen. It'd be great. It would be great. But, yeah, I don't know. Part of me almost like wishes that all of this Adam speculation just had something more solid behind it. I just feel like we're constantly speculating that Adam is gonna come back for the last 2 years, and I wish that it would either be true or not be true. It's like this rumor that's always there, and all of this current wave of speculation comes from a blind item that a character is going to be coming back to life. Well, how about this theory from Connor? Connor left me a voicemail saying, could it be that Sage is still alive? Well, now, I thought the same thing. That did dawn on me too, Connor, as Chelsea was mentioning Sage to Victor. And if we think about it, Sage is the only other person that we know of besides Adam who knows this paternity secret, right? Am I wrong? I mean, basically, Sage knew that her son's father was Adam. In fact, didn't Adam switch the paternity test results? And she knew it, and she wrote it in a letter to Adam, and Chelsea also saw that letter after Sage's death. They burned it away in the fireplace, so the evidence is missing. But I can't think, is there anyone else besides Sage that we already know of who would know this secret? It's, it would have been Sage and Adam and Victor and Chelsea, unless there was some kind of leak or something, or somebody, I don't know, who knows. That's why I also keep thinking about Sharon. Like, Sharon thought that Christian was her child. Remember, we were going through the whole Sully thing. And she, I think Sharon was the one who initiated the original maternity test, and she found out that Sully was Sage's baby, and Sharon was like trying to stop Sage from telling Nick this information. Well, then why would she was gonna go tell Nick, right? Or was she gonna go tell Adam? I mean, we didn't find out till after Sage's death that she knew Adam was the father, but Sage was on her way traveling to tell Nick with Sharon following behind when Sage got in the car accident and died on the side of the road. Sad. I don't know. Speculation. It's all, but it's fun. Rose at yrchat.com shifting gears, saying, I was enjoying the storylines that were going quickly until the writers tried to make me forgive Tessa in 1 week. The characters are moving on, and I've been left behind still angry. Mariah seems completely over the fact that Tessa stole her journal, used the words, and made them public. Devon has practically promoted Tessa from office assistant to vice president. I guess it's me, but Noah left wishing, I guess it's just me and Noah left wishing that Tessa would get lost. No, Rose, it's not just you, because I don't know if I necessarily wish Tessa would get lost, but I have most certainly noticed that Devon has not really punished Tessa. He's just elevated her. And the same thing kind of as far as the housing situation. Tessa has all this money for those fancy jackets and clothes she's been wearing around Devon's office, but she doesn't have a house to live in. She can't pay her rent. I mean, it is a quickie. It is kind of a quick redemption. I think that Tessa's character would have been a little more served if we had seen some kind of like mea culpa. She kind of just got forgiven. She kind of just did something really bad and just got forgiven. Yeah. Well, we were talking last week also about, or I was talking about couples who were together, and then one of the couples screwed over the other one, or one of the people screwed over the other one, and then we as fans ended up rooting for them. Do you remember this? I was equating it to Tessa and Mariah as the way that Tessa completely screwed over Mariah, and then Mariah went, is probably going to go back to her fairly quickly. Well, Aaron on YouTube says, I remember another couple that turned on and we still wanted them together. It was when Adam told Sharon that he loved her when she was in jail, and then on their wedding day, Adam dumped Sharon and told her that he'd never marry her. I could never marry someone like you, a woman like you. Aaron says, I was so mad at Adam for a whole year for doing that to Sharon. And yes, Aaron, I most definitely went on to be an Adam and Sharon fan after that. It was hard. But I did, so that's a good point. It does, Y&R can work it like nobody's business. Shelly at yrchat.com commenting on JT and his conversations with Victoria about remarriage. And Shelly says, okay, the phrase was said by JT, till death to us part. That's it. JT's dying. I was excited for his return, and for the past couple of weeks or so, it was nice. A new face, a new man. Crazy hot sex with Victoria. Now he's whiny, controlling, ungrateful. He's a baby who's going to end up dying. Great. Wow, I love that word, controlling. Because I guess I didn't think about that, but controlling is probably something that is a good way to describe what he did with Victoria and her meeting. And you can just see her little heartbreaking, can't you? Where she's like, this makes me uncomfortable, but I'm not going to say anything about it because it feels good. Yeah. I know, we need some movement, Y&R, on this JT thing. Superplex at yrchat.com also giving me a follow-up on a comment from last week saying, Allie, you asked us chatters what the title of the movie that Kane and Lily was watching on their television set upon returning from their fiasco at the theater. It was called Mr. Smith Goes to Washington. You know what, Superplex? I thought that looked like Jimmy Stewart, and I didn't want to say it because then I figured if I did say it and I was wrong, I would look like a fool. So thank you for following up on that and confirming. Kara left me a voice message. So nice to hear from you. Kara is predicting that Hilary's baby daddy is going to be Billy. Kara says, if I recall correctly, there is some Billy sperm in a test tube somewhere. I mean, you never know. Here's another one. Does anybody else remember Billy having some sperm stashed? Yeah, I mean, that would really get in the way of Phyllis and Hilary's new little friendship there, wouldn't it? Ooh, that would kind of be a little bit of a good twist, I gotta admit. Well, on the topic of children, Diana left me a comment at yrchat.com saying, last week you were talking about the show needing characters to have children in order to have a next generation. I agree with that 100%. I also think that it would give the show a much better sense of reality if they brought back the pre-existing next generation characters. Just a couple of suggestions here from Diana. I mean, Phyllis's children have gone missing. We have Daniel and Summer, and there was a granddaughter named Lucy. That would be a good one. Diana mentions Paul's daughter, Heather. I hate Heather. I don't know why, but I hate Heather. Her character just, I don't know if it was the actresses who played her or whatever, but I didn't like her. So I'm not for that one. But also we have Neil's son, Moses. Yes, that would be obvious. And that'd be a good get for when Christoph St. John gets back. Bring back Sophia and Moses. Well, let's see. We also have, I love this one. Jack's sons, Kyle and Chemo. Yes! I've said this before. I remember that Jack had a long-lost son named Chemo. He did not find out about him until much later in life. I loved Chemo. This is in the 90s. It was played by a wonderful actor named Philip Moon. I thought he was excellent. I just really liked him. I liked his vibe. I mean, I wish Y&R would bring back Chemo. That would be so sweet. And we also have Lauren's son, Scott and Finn, Joe's son, Philip. JT and Mac have kids. And Bella. I mean, eventually they could definitely age Bella and bring her back on. So those are some good people who could be aged onto the show and give us our newer generation. Oh, let's end on this comment from Liz at yrchat.com saying maybe it's all the commercials for Celebrity Big Brother that have been airing as of late. But when Hilary sashayed into Devon's office and demanded her own office, her demeanor immediately made me think of Omarosa. So are you guys watching Celebrity Big Brother? It's hard to not think about the crossover shows. I've watched not crossover shows, but other CBS properties. I have seen every season of Big Brother since season 2, watching live. But I am not watching Celebrity Big Brother. I feel disappointed that there's not that many celebrities that I know. I mean, they've been building up Celebrity Big Brother since the summer, and I'm like, ooh, who it's gonna be? And I didn't expect it was gonna be A-list celebrities, but I only know like 3 people. So I haven't even watched a single episode of it. I also didn't watch the online OTT version either. But so if you guys are watching Big Brother, though, I hope you are enjoying it. And Survivor's coming back too. I don't know why, but I only watch CBS shows. I don't know what it is about CBS. I guess because I started Y&R and then they pull me in for the other ones. But Survivor's starting on February 28th. I love me some Survivor. So those are some other good shows to keep an eye out for. If I had more time, there would be Big Brother Chat, Survivor Chat, Bold and the Beautiful Chat. But for right now, with a baby, it's gonna have to be just Y&R Chat. Okay, everybody. I think it's been a pretty good week. What do you think? Go to yrchat.com. Leave me your comments. Send me some voicemails. 309-588-4569. Valentine's Day is coming up this next week, so I imagine we're going to see some Valentine's Day wedding action or lovin's action between Lily and Kane, and maybe JT and Victoria will do some more lavish lovins. Who knows, maybe Devon and Hillary will get together on Valentine's Day, but I'm going to assume that next week will be a week for romance. I hope there is some romance in your life this upcoming week. I hope everybody has a very happy Valentine's Day. I'll be thinking of ya, sending you some love, and I'll see you next Sunday. Bye!
And hi, it's me again. Okay, so after I finished recording Y&R Chat for the week, I realized that I had 3 pages of your comments to read, and I got so caught up in theorizing about Sage and who could be behind these mysterious text messages that I must have skipped a page. I set down the page that was in the middle, and as soon as I realized it, I just felt really bad because there are so many comments that I didn't get to that I wanted to get to. So just consider this a bit of an epilogue to Y&R Chat for the week. I'm going to jump back to where I was at the point when I got off track, which was when we were talking about Chelsea. Daisy on Facebook left me a comment saying, "It makes no sense that Phyllis would just turn on Chelsea the way she has. I don't recall them ever having a real problem. I think with Jordan showing up in town, Phyllis could have easily thought that he was responsible for the stolen money rather than blaming Chelsea. I don't see the point in having just about everyone in town out of the clear blue sky go against Chelsea, and that goes double for Nick. At the very least, he should be speaking directly to Chelsea rather than talking about her behind her back. I would rather see Chelsea leave to pursue her dream of a clothing line in Paris, but with the way things look right now, the last we might see of Chelsea is her running away and hiding from the law. I hope not, though." See, can't you see why I was like so hot to trot to come back to these comments? It's a really good comment, Daisy. It is a bit of a disappointing end, I suppose, to the end of the story of Chelsea, if she does end up just possibly having to run out of town with her tail between her legs. I'm kind of hoping there will at least be somewhat of a positive spin on it, but we're just going to have to keep our eye on it and see where the writers decide to take it. I'm sure that it's, in their minds, it's probably not very juicy if they don't send her out in a very dramatic fashion, but I do hope that there is some level of of a somewhat happy ending, at least for a character that I have over the course of the years come to really like. Jamie at yrchat.com. Actually, no, I think this was a voicemail. I think I wrote that down wrong. Jamie says, hey, we're getting Phyllis being feisty and investigative and all up in the GC residents' business without being the wrong kind of devious. I love Phyllis when she's being nosy and also badass and cool, all without overstepping. See, now there's another flip side to Daisy's argument, saying it doesn't make sense that Phyllis would turn on Chelsea. And here Jamie was just really enjoying this feisty Phyllis. I kind of like where Phyllis is right now, too. I don't think she's quite, as Jamie said, overstepping. I think that Phyllis is kind of the right kind of butting up in right now. Probably not from a friendship perspective or a real life perspective, but I am kind of enjoying seeing Phyllis doing her thing right now. Mary Ann at yrchat.com agrees, saying, I'm glad to see Phyllis back in her nosy detective mode. I started watching the show again when she became suspicious of Adam regarding the baby Faith switch and other Adam-related storylines. This puts her back into the era before she went into a coma. I feel the previous writing regimes had dumbed down the character. Isn't it kind of interesting that Phyllis was at her peak of nosiness, right, as that baby switch storyline was going on with Adam, and now here we are again just a few years later. But I also like your comment, Mary Ann, that it does feel a little bit more like Phyllis is in her pre-coma state. Mary Ann goes on to say, hopefully Phyllis will continue to be the smart and devious character that she was several years ago. Hey, how about that moment when Nikki descends from the stairs from her night with Arturo into a big old high five from Phyllis? Like Nikki is thinking she's going to have to defend herself against doing the walk of shame. And Phyllis just like puts up her hand like, hey girl, high five. I have to say, also one of the reasons I wanted to come back and do this epilogue was because I didn't get a chance to do the follow-up on Nikki and Arturo. That was such a big, shocking twist last week when they went upstairs together. And now this week, she is kind of dodging the old boy. He sent her, or he sent her a text message, or he called her or something, and she chose to decline the call. So I think Nikki has had her way with him, and now she's over it. I got kind of an interesting little theory here on, let's switch over into Abbotts, the Abbott family. Ellen left me a comment at yrchat.com with an interesting twist on an idea of Graham and his death. Ellen says, were we told that Graham died? I don't remember hearing that. I know the doctor said nothing more could be done, and then Dina gave permission for the life support to be turned off, but was Dina ever told that he actually died? I'm just wondering if there is a chance for a miraculous recovery, or if Graham could have paid off the doctor to just pretend there was no hope for a recovery. No funeral, no death. And even then, I like the way your mind works, Ellen. Honestly, I'm prepared to be grasping at straws for any way for Graham to come back on the show. Whatever you guys at Y&R want to do, bring him back. Have a twin. He was never dead. Whatever you say, I really wish that he could come back. I thought it was a cute little story in Soaps in Depth, by the way, that on his last day, Max Shippey, the actor who played Graham, he must have showed up on his last day with a big bouquet of flowers or something that had a bunch of hypodermic needles shoved in it to mark the way that his character went out. That seems classy. That seems like a classy, funny way to go out. See, that's the kind of guy you would want to keep around on the set, I would think. Rose at yrchat.com has also kind of an interesting and opposite perspective on the Ashley Victoria situation. Rose says the writers are really failing in the Ashley Victoria storyline. The bickering is absolutely obnoxious, not entertaining. And once again, we have writers reducing female executives to catty, bickering hens. Both of those women are smarter than that, and they would both execute any competition or scheme in a much more intelligent and cunning way than this. I understand that it's easier to write a script this way, but in my opinion, it's disrespectful to our intelligent, powerful female characters and just disrespectful to women generally. That's such an interesting comment, Rose, because it does kind of feel like the Victoria and Ashley feud is just coming out of nowhere. It does feel a little unnecessary. There are some ways I think that the show's doing a good job of giving us good, strong female friendships, but I think you make a valid point here that this is definitely a more of a missed opportunity, and it does kind of put them in a little bit of a predictable box. Maybe that this storyline is possibly a little bit just predictable. Superplex at yrchat.com says Eileen Davidson is so effective playing an emotionally tormented character. She really gets into the role. The tears, which are authentic, probably signifies that she's riding the same roller coaster wave of sensations as the character. It's so interesting, Superplex, to think about how the actors and actresses bond with their own characters, isn't it? That Eileen Davidson is probably going through this, as you say, roller coaster of wave of emotions in the same way that her character is, and it does read on screen. I think that, say what you will about the way the storyline is being presented, I do think that the actors and actresses are doing the best that they can do with the material, and I feel it. I do. Mary Ann, again at yrchat.com, says, I appreciate the fact that we were able to watch how Dina's illness and Jack and Ashley's feud affected Tracy and Billy. Tuesday's episode has given Tracy and the actress who plays her a chance to shine. I really like the fact that Tracy is on the show more than just at the end of the year and the holidays. I also got a voicemail this past week from Gary saying Billy, Jack, and Ashley are, here on the screen giving Tracy the old pep talk, but of course, it's only skin deep. Think about how Tracy lost her only daughter several years ago, Gary says. I don't think she has any family in New York. She's divorced. She's really all alone. And now her mother doesn't value her enough to recall her when she has recall on her two other children. Hopefully, this is a tour de force for Bette Maitland, who deserves it. Gary says that is an actress who can emote when she has to. Some of the best performances ever on this show were Beth Maitland bringing in The Day After as a guest star when Colleen died. She took grief to new levels. Well, I tell you what, I'm a big Tracy fan. I really liked the fact that we were able to focus in on her feelings and her pain this week. And I do think that we're going to see a little bit more of that. A little birdie told me that we're going to be hearing and seeing a little bit more from Tracy next week. And I think that you make a good point, Gary, also, that maybe this is going to be some Emmy material for Beth Maitland. I mean, you nailed it. She has given some performances. This woman is a fine actress. I'd like to have her on the show for more than just holidays and guest stints. She is a powerhouse who can hold her own. She's a mature woman, and I think that Tracy holds a place. I think she fills a place on the canvas that nobody else has quite been able to do as well. Okay, well, those are the comments that I wanted to make sure to get to. I am sorry, I almost missed them, but hey, I wasn't going to be able to get through the rest of my day and sleep tonight if I knowing that there's a page of comments out there that just didn't get read. It was going to drive me nuts. So there you go, a little bit of bonus Y&R chat. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you guys next week.